Join us as we delve into the eerie and mysterious realms of abandoned places, where the echoes of the past whisper chilling stories of lost souls and vengeful spirits. Prepare for a journey into the unknown with our trio of terror. Buckle up for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your dreams and leave you questioning what lurks in the shadows.
The day began like any other, the sun casting long shadows as it dipped below the horizon. Emma Lawson, a 28-year-old freelance journalist, couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation that had been building all week. She had convinced her friends to accompany her to the infamous Everglow Carnival, an abandoned amusement park shrouded in mystery and rumored to be haunted. This was the story that could catapult her career, if only she could uncover its secrets. Emma's best friend, Max, had been hesitant from the start. At 29, Max was a software developer, practical and methodical, always weighing the risks before diving into anything. His sandy hair and wire-rimmed glasses gave him a scholarly look, and his cautious nature often put him at odds with Chloe, the third member of their trio. Chloe was the exact opposite of Max, adventurous and fearless. At 27, she was an aspiring filmmaker with a passion for the macabre. Her dark hair and piercing green eyes gave her an intensity that matched her bold personality. Chloe thrived on adrenaline and was always eager to explore the unknown. As they approached the rusted gates of Everglow Carnival, Emma felt a chill despite the warm autumn evening. The park had been closed for over 30 years, ever since a devastating fire had claimed the lives of many visitors and staff. The cause of the fire remained a mystery, and over time, the park had fallen into disrepair, its once bright colors faded, and its joyful sounds silenced. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Max asked, his voice tinged with apprehension. He adjusted his glasses and glanced nervously at the darkening sky. "Of course it is," Chloe said with a mischievous grin. "This place is legendary. Think of the footage we could get for your story, Emma." Emma nodded, trying to quell the unease gnawing at her. "Let's do this. We stick together and explore the main attractions. If things get too intense, we can always leave." With that, Emma pushed open the gate, the creaking sound echoing through the empty park. They walked along the cracked pathway, weeds pushing through the asphalt, and past the decaying ticket booth. The Ferris wheel loomed ahead, its once colorful carriages now faded and covered in rust. As they ventured deeper, the remnants of a bygone era surrounded them. Broken down rides, tattered carnival tents, and faded posters of smiling clowns and acrobats. Their first stop was the funhouse. Its entrance was adorned with a grotesque clown face, the paint peeling away to reveal the rotting wood beneath. "This place gives me the creeps," Emma muttered, gripping her camera tightly. Inside, the funhouse was a maze of distorted mirrors and eerie laughter. Their reflections twisted and stretched, turning them into monstrous versions of themselves. Max yelped as one of the mirrors shattered, the pieces falling to the ground with a haunting clatter. "Let's keep moving," Emma urged, leading the way out of the funhouse. They continued their exploration, finding the carousel at the heart of the park. The once vibrant horses were now weathered and cracked, their eyes staring blankly into the distance. It was Chloe who noticed the hidden trapdoor beneath the carousel. "Look at this," she said, pointing to the faint outline in the floor. With some effort, they managed to pry it open, revealing a set of stairs leading down into darkness. Emma's heart pounded as they descended into the hidden chamber. The walls were lined with faded carnival posters, and the air was thick with dust and the scent of mildew. In the center of the room stood an old, weathered journal. Emma picked it up, blowing off the dust to reveal its contents. The pages were filled with detailed accounts of the park's history, including the tragic fire that had claimed so many lives. "This must be the journal of someone who worked here," she said, flipping through the pages. As she read aloud, the temperature in the room seemed to drop, and and a sense of unease settled over them. The final entry described the night of the fire in chilling detail: the panicked screams, the acrid smell of smoke, and the sight of the ringmaster, a man known for his cruelty, laughing as the flames consumed everything. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the chamber, extinguishing their flashlight. The friends huddled together, their breaths visible in the frigid air. Emma felt a presence behind her and turned to see the spectral figure of the ringmaster, his eyes burning with malevolence. "Welcome to my carnival," he hissed, his voice echoing in the darkness. Panic set in as the friends realized they were not alone. The spirits of the lost souls, twisted and tormented, began to emerge from the shadows, their mournful cries filling the air. Emma's mind raced as she tried to remember the details of the journal. There had to be a way to appease the spirits, to put them to rest. "We need to find out what they want," she said, her voice trembling. "There has to be something in the journal that can help us." As they frantically searched the pages, the ringmaster's laughter grew louder, filling their minds with terror. The spirits closed in, their ghostly hands reaching out, and Emma knew they were running out of time. With a sudden realization, she found the passage she was looking for. "The fire was caused by the ringmaster," she read aloud. "He trapped the visitors and staff inside, hoping to collect their souls for his own twisted purposes. The only way to break his hold is to confront him with the truth and expose his crimes." Emma stood up, facing the ringmaster with newfound determination. "You caused the fire!" she shouted. "You trapped those innocent people and took their lives. It's time for you to pay for what you've done." The ringmaster's face twisted with rage, but as Emma's words echoed through the chamber, the spirits seemed to gain strength. They turned on their tormentor, their collective anger and sorrow overwhelming him. With a final blood-curdling scream, the ringmaster vanished, and the spirits began to fade, their expressions softening as they found peace at last. The friends emerged from the hidden chamber, the first light of dawn breaking through the darkness. The park seemed less foreboding now, the weight of its tragic past lifted. Emma looked at her friends, their faces pale but determined. "We did it," she said, a sense of relief washing over her. "We gave them the justice they deserved." As they walked away from the Everglow Carnival, Emma knew she had not only uncovered the truth, but also faced her own fears. And in doing so, she had finally proven herself, both as a journalist and as a friend. The sun was setting behind the skeletal remains of Mystic Vale Amusement Park, casting long shadows that seemed to dance with the promise of nightmarish revelations. Jess Harper, a 26-year-old paranormal investigator, and her friend stood at the entrance, the once vibrant sign now a decaying relic of a happier time. "Are we really doing this?" asked Mark, a 28-year-old history teacher and the most skeptical member of the group. His brown eyes darted nervously around the overgrown entrance. "Absolutely," Jess replied with a determined nod. Her red hair glinted in the fading light, and her green eyes sparkled with a mix of excitement and resolve. "This place is legendary. We have to find out what really happened here." Beside them, Sam, a 27-year-old tech expert with a knack for capturing the paranormal on camera, adjusted his equipment. His dark hair and beard gave him a rugged look, but his demeanor was cautious. "I've got the cameras ready. Let's see if we can catch something on film." As they stepped through the rusted gates, the air seemed to grow colder, and a shiver ran down Jess's spine. The park was eerily silent, save for the occasional rustle of leaves in the wind. They walked along the cracked pathway, the remnants of a once bustling amusement park surrounding them, broken down rides, tattered carnival tents, and faded posters of smiling clowns and acrobats. Their first stop was the Hall of Mirrors. The entrance was adorned with an ornate archway, the glass long since shattered and the paint peeling away. Inside, the mirrors cast distorted reflections that twisted and warped their appearances. "This place is creepy," Mark muttered, his voice echoing in the empty hall. "Why did people enjoy this?" Jess was about to respond when she caught sight of her reflection moving independently. She froze, watching in horror as the mirror version of herself grinned maniacally and reached out, its fingers pressing against the glass as if trying to break free. "Did you see that?" she whispered, backing away. "Something's wrong with the mirrors." The others turned to look, their expressions shifting from curiosity to fear as their own reflections began to move on their own, mimicking their every move with a sinister delay. "Let's get out of here," Sam said, his voice shaking. "This place is seriously messed up." They hurried out of the Hall of Mirrors, the sound of faint laughter following them. Jess's heart raced as they made their way deeper into the park, the oppressive atmosphere growing thicker with each step. At the park's central stage, they found an old projector, its bulb flickering as it played footage of a carnival from decades past. The grainy images showed children laughing, families enjoying rides, and performers entertaining the crowd. But amidst the cheerful scenes, a sinister figure stood out, the Laughing Man. Dressed in a tattered suit and wearing a grotesque mask, the Laughing Man performed macabre tricks that seemed to mesmerize and terrify the audience. As the footage continued, the camera panned to a series of disappearances, the victims' faces frozen in expressions of terror before they vanished. "That's him," Jess said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The Laughing Man. He's responsible for the disappearances." Mark's face paled as he watched the footage. "Do you think the legends are true? That he's still here?" Before Jess could respond, a cold breeze swept through the stage area, and the projector's image flickered. The Laughing Man's face filled the screen, his hollow eyes staring directly at them. "Welcome, my dear guests." His voice crackled through the speakers, sending chills down their spines. "The show is about to begin." The friends turned to flee, but the ground beneath them seemed to shift, and they found themselves back in the Hall of Mirrors, the reflections now moving with malevolent intent. The mirrors distorted their surroundings, creating a labyrinthine maze that trapped them within. "We need to find a way out," Jess said, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. "There has to be a way to break his hold." As they navigated the twisted corridors, the mirrors showed glimpses of the past, victims trapped within the glass, their faces contorted in agony. Jess felt a pang of sorrow for them, their souls trapped in eternal torment by the Laughing Man. "Look," Sam said, pointing to a mirror that showed a young woman pleading for help. "She's trying to tell us something." The woman's reflection mouthed words, her eyes wide with desperation. Jess leaned closer, trying to decipher her message. "The projector," she finally understood. "We need to destroy the projector." They raced back to the central stage, the sound of the Laughing Man's sinister laughter echoing around them. The projector continued to play its haunting footage, the images of the past blending with the present. Jess grabbed a nearby metal rod and swung it at the projector, smashing the lens. The machine sputtered and died, the film burning away in a flash of light. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the laughter ceased. The mirrors in the Hall of Mirrors shattered simultaneously, releasing the trapped souls. Jess and her friends stood in stunned silence as the spirits of the Laughing Man's victims faded into the night, finally at peace. Exhausted and shaken, they made their way out of Mystic Vale Amusement Park as the first light of dawn broke through the darkness. The park seemed less foreboding now, the weight of its tragic past lifted. Jess looked at her friends, their faces pale but determined. "We did it," she said, a sense of relief washing over her. "We gave them the justice they deserved." As they walked away from the haunted amusement park, Jess knew they had not only uncovered the truth, but also faced their own fears. And in doing so, they had freed the souls trapped by the Laughing Man's malevolent grip ensuring that his reign of terror would haunt no more. With the first rays of dawn, Jess and her friends reached the edge of the park. The oppressive weight that had haunted them throughout the night seemed to lift, but the experience had left them shaken and wary. As they paused to catch their breath, Jess couldn't help but glance back at the dilapidated amusement park, feeling a strange sense of unfinished business. "We should leave," Mark said, his voice breaking the silence. "We did what we came to do. Let's not push our luck." "I agree," Sam added, though he couldn't hide the curiosity in his eyes. "But there's still so much we don't know about this place. What if there are more spirits trapped inside?" Jess nodded slowly. "You're right. We've freed the souls trapped by the Laughing Man, but there might be others. We owe it to them to uncover the truth and help them find peace." Their resolve renewed, the friends decided to rest and gather supplies before venturing back into the park. They found an old cabin nearby, its interior dusty and filled with cobwebs, but it provided shelter and a moment of respite. As they sat around a makeshift campfire, Jess shared her thoughts. "There's a hidden chamber beneath the carousel," she said, recalling a detail from the journal they found earlier. "It's said to hold the park's darkest secrets. If we can find it, we might learn more about what happened here and how to help the remaining spirits." Mark looked skeptical. "And what if we find something worse than the Laughing Man?" Jess met his gaze, determination shining in her eyes. "Then we'll face it together. We can't leave this place knowing there are souls still trapped." As the fire crackled and the first light of dawn began to seep through the cabin's broken windows, the friends prepared themselves for another journey into the unknown. They knew the path ahead would be perilous, but their commitment to uncovering the truth and helping those in need gave them the strength to press on. Returning to Mystic Vale Amusement Park, Jess and her friends retraced their steps to the carousel. The once colorful attraction now stood as a rusted relic, its paint peeling and horses frozen in grotesque poses. Beneath the carousel's platform, they found a hidden trapdoor, its hinges creaking as they pried it open. A narrow staircase led them into a dark subterranean chamber. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, and the faint sound of dripping water echoed through the corridor. As they descended, their flashlights illuminated faded carnival posters and crumbling carnival games, relics of a forgotten era. "Stay close," Jess whispered, her voice barely audible in the oppressive silence. "We don't know what's down here." At the end of the corridor, they discovered a large, dimly lit room filled with carnival memorabilia. In the center stood an old, weathered journal, its pages yellowed with age. Jess carefully opened it, revealing detailed accounts of the park's history and the tragic events that led to its closure. As she read aloud, the friends learned about the fire that broke out during a carnival night, claiming the lives of visitors and staff. The journal described how the Laughing Man had orchestrated the chaos, using his macabre performances to lure victims into the park's darker recesses. The spirits of those who perished were said to be trapped within the park, their souls unable to find peace. "We have to find a way to free them," Sam said, his voice filled with determination. "But how do we break the curse?" Jess turned to the final pages of the journal, which detailed a ritual to release the trapped souls. It required them to gather specific items from the park and perform the ritual at midnight under the full moon's light. The instructions were clear, but the task seemed daunting. "We have to try," Jess said, her resolve unwavering. "These spirits deserve to be free." The friends set out to gather the required items, knowing that each step brought them closer to the park's darkest secrets. As they ventured deeper into Mystic Vale, they encountered more ghostly apparitions and eerie phenomena, their courage tested at every turn. As midnight approached, Jess and her friends gathered the items needed for the ritual: a piece of the carousel, a mirror from the Hall of Mirrors, and a relic from the central stage. They made their way to the park's central clearing, where the moonlight bathed the area in an ethereal glow. "Are you sure about this?" Mark asked, his voice trembling. "What if we make things worse?" "We have to believe it will work," Jess replied, her eyes fixed on the journal's instructions. "It's our only chance to free the trapped souls." They arranged the items in a circle and began to recite the incantation from the journal. As they spoke the words, the air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding enveloped them. The ground trembled, and a low, mournful wail echoed through the park. The spirits of the trapped souls began to materialize around them, their faces filled with anguish and longing. Jess felt a surge of empathy for them, their suffering palpable. She continued the incantation, her voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at her. Suddenly, a sinister laugh pierced the air, and the laughing man appeared before them, his grotesque mask illuminated by the moonlight. "You dare to defy me," he hissed, his voice dripping with malice. "You will join them in eternal torment!" Jess stood her ground, meeting his gaze with unwavering determination. "We're here to free them, and you can't stop us!" The laughing man lunged at them, his spectral form twisting and contorting as he tried to break their circle. But the power of the ritual held strong, the incantation creating a barrier that repelled his attacks. As they neared the end of the ritual, the spirits of the trapped souls began to glow with a soft, ethereal light. One by one, they were released from their torment, their faces relaxing into expressions of peace and gratitude. The laughing man's form flickered and weakened, his power waning as the spirits found freedom. With a final defiant scream, the laughing man disintegrated into a cloud of dark mist, his malevolent presence banished from Mystic Vale Amusement Park. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and the park seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. Jess and her friends collapsed to the ground, their exhaustion giving way to a profound sense of accomplishment. They had faced their fears, uncovered the truth, and freed the trapped souls from their torment. In the days that followed, news of the friends' harrowing experience at Mystic Vale Amusement Park spread throughout Brooksville. The park's dark history and the bravery of Jess and her friends became the talk of the town. Jess shared their story on her podcast, shedding light on the tragic events and the spirits they had freed. The town council decided to memorialize the park and its victims, transforming it into a historical site dedicated to the memory of those who had perished. The once haunted amusement park was given a new purpose, its tragic past serving as a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Jess, Mark, and Sam found a renewed sense of purpose in their paranormal investigations, their bond strengthened by the trials they had faced together. They knew there were other mysteries to uncover and other spirits to help, but their experience at Mystic Vale had taught them the true power of courage, empathy, and determination. As they stood at the entrance of the newly memorialized Mystic Vale Amusement Park, Jess felt a sense of closure. The park's tragic history had been unveiled, and the spirits had found peace. The friends had faced their fears and emerged stronger, their journey a testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit. And as the sun set behind the park's skeletal remains, casting long shadows that danced with the promise of a new dawn, Jess knew that their story was far from over. There were still many secrets to uncover and many souls to help, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by their shared experience and their unwavering determination to uncover the truth. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, sinister shadows over the entrance to Whispering Pines Amusement Park. Sarah Mitchell stood at the rusted gate, her breath catching in her throat as she surveyed the scene before her. The park, abandoned for decades, loomed ominously, the remnants of its attractions barely visible through the overgrown foliage. "Are we really doing this?" asked Jake, her best friend and fellow journalist. He was tall and lanky, with a nervous energy that belied his usual confidence. "We have to," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite the trepidation she felt. "This is the story that could make our careers. Besides, don't you want to know the truth about the disappearances?" Jake nodded reluctantly, adjusting his backpack. "Yeah, but I didn't think we'd be walking into a real-life horror movie." "That's what makes it exciting," interjected Emma, Sarah's childhood friend and a history buff. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity as she examined the decaying ticket booth. "Think of all the history here, the stories these grounds hold." The trio stepped through the gate, the crunch of gravel beneath their feet breaking the silence. The park's main pathway was overgrown with weeds, and the skeletal remains of attractions loomed on either side. They passed a dilapidated merry-go-round, its once bright horses now chipped and weathered, and an old roller coaster whose tracks twisted into the sky like the bones of a forgotten giant. "Look at this place," Emma whispered, her voice tinged with awe. "It's like stepping into another world." As they ventured deeper into the park, the air grew colder, and an eerie silence enveloped them. Shadows seemed to move just beyond the edge of their vision, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. "Do you guys hear that?" Jake asked suddenly, his eyes darting around nervously. "Hear what?" Sarah replied, straining her ears. At first, she heard nothing, but then a faint whispering reached her ears, like distant voices carried on the wind. "It's probably just the wind," Emma said, though her tone suggested she wasn't entirely convinced. They continued their exploration, drawn to the imposing structure of the House of Horrors. The facade, once a gaudy display of monsters and ghouls, was now faded and covered in moss. The entrance yawned open like a mouth waiting to swallow them whole. "This seems like a good place to start," Sarah said, her voice wavering slightly. She took a deep breath and stepped inside, her flashlight cutting through the darkness. The interior was even more unsettling. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling, and the air was thick with dust. As they moved through the narrow corridors, the temperature plummeted, and the hair on the back of Sarah's neck stood on end. "Why is it so cold in here?" Jake asked, rubbing his arms for warmth. "Ghosts," Emma said with a nervous laugh. "Or maybe just poor insulation." Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Sarah's flashlight beam revealed fleeting glimpses of ghostly figures, their eyes hollow and filled with sorrow. "Did you see that?" she whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. "I did," Jake replied, his voice trembling. "Let's keep moving." They pressed on, the whispers growing louder and more insistent. In the dim light, they saw visions of a carnival barker, his grin wide and malevolent, beckoning them further into the darkness. "This place is seriously creepy," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. At the end of the corridor, they stumbled upon an old ticket booth. A tattered ticket lay on the counter, its edges frayed and the ink faded. Sarah picked it up, her fingers trembling as she read the inscription. "Admission to the Beyond." "What does that mean?" Jake asked, peering over her shoulder. "I'm not sure," Sarah replied, slipping the ticket into her pocket. "But I think it's important." They exited the House of Horrors, the whispers fading into the background. The park seemed even more sinister now, as if it were alive and aware of their presence. Sarah felt a sense of urgency, a need to uncover the truth before it was too late. As they made their way toward the heart of the park, they came across a crumbling monument. The plaque at its base was weathered, but the inscription was still legible. "In memory of those who lost their lives during the construction of Whispering Pines Amusement Park, may their souls find peace." "Do you think this is related to the curse?" Emma asked, her voice hushed. "It has to be," Sarah replied, her mind racing. "The workers who died, maybe their spirits are the ones haunting this place." "We need to find out more about what happened," Jake said, his fear giving way to determination. Their search led them to the park's administration building, a derelict structure hidden behind overgrown bushes. Inside, they found a treasure trove of documents and old photographs detailing the park's construction and the tragic accident that had claimed so many lives. "Look at this," Emma said, holding up a photograph of the construction crew. "That's the Carney, the carnival barker we saw in the visions." "His real name was Bobby Thompson," Sarah read from a newspaper clipping. "He was in charge of the construction, but he cut corners to save money. The accident was his fault." "That explains why he's so vengeful," Jake said. "He's trapped here just like the workers." They spent hours piecing together the park's dark history. As the night wore on, they realized they had to perform a ritual to lift the curse and free the trapped spirits. The instructions, detailed in an old journal, required them to gather items from the park and perform the ritual at midnight. "We don't have much time," Sarah said, her voice filled with urgency. "We need to find these items and perform the ritual." They split up to gather the necessary items: a piece of the merry-go-round, a mirror from the House of Horrors, and a relic from the roller coaster. As they worked, the park seemed to come alive with malevolent energy, the whispers growing louder and more aggressive. Reunited with the items in hand, they hurried to the park's central clearing. The full moon bathed the area in an eerie glow, and they arranged the items in a circle, following the journal's instructions. "Are you sure about this?" Jake asked, his voice trembling. "We have to try," Sarah replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "It's the only way to free them." They began to recite the incantation, their voices blending with the whispers that surrounded them. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding enveloped them. The ground trembled, and a low, mournful wail echoed through the park. The spirits of the trapped workers began to materialize around them, their faces filled with anguish and longing. Sarah felt a surge of empathy for them, their suffering palpable as they reached out to the friends, pleading silently for release. The atmosphere thickened with a mix of sorrow and anticipation, the ancient curse manifesting in the flickering lights and trembling ground. "We're doing the right thing," Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the rising wind that swept through the clearing. Sarah nodded, her gaze fixed on the items they had gathered. "Keep going. We can't stop now." Jake's hand shook as he held the last relic, a piece of the roller coaster's rail, worn smooth by decades of neglect. He placed it carefully within the circle, completing the pattern as described in the journal. As they continued the incantation, the air crackled with energy. Shadows danced around them, elongating and twisting in the moonlight. The whispers grew louder, forming words that echoed with a haunting urgency. Suddenly, a chill swept through the clearing, and the ground beneath them trembled violently. The spirits surged forward, their forms becoming more defined as they reached the peak of their ethereal existence. Each ghost bore the scars of their tragic deaths, their eyes pleading for salvation. "We're here to help you," Sarah called out, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding around them. "We want to set you free." The spirits hesitated, their spectral forms flickering in and out of visibility. Among them, a figure emerged, a shadowy silhouette with a twisted grin and piercing eyes. The Carney, once a charismatic barker, now a malevolent force bound to the park's curse. "You dare disturb my domain?" The Carney's voice echoed through the clearing, carrying with it the weight of decades-old resentment. His gaze fixed on Sarah, a mixture of malice and desperation burning in his eyes. "We have to stop him," Jake muttered, his fists clenched in determination. Sarah stepped forward, meeting the Carney's gaze with unwavering resolve. "We didn't come here to disturb you. We came to end the suffering, to break the curse that binds you all." The carnies' laughter echoed through the clearing, a chilling sound that sent shivers down their spines. You cannot break what has been woven in blood and sorrow. These souls are mine, as they have always been. With a surge of determination, Sarah raised her voice, the incantation ringing clear and strong. The circle of items glowed with a faint, otherworldly light, their energies intertwining to form a barrier against the carnies' malevolent presence. The spirits wavered, caught between the pull of freedom and the lingering hold of the curse. Sarah's heart raced as she poured every ounce of her will into the incantation, urging the spirits to embrace the light and let go of their earthly ties. At last, the air around them seemed to shimmer, a sign that their efforts were taking hold. The spirits began to fade, their forms dissipating into the night air. One by one, they vanished, leaving behind a profound stillness that settled over the clearing. The carnie's visage contorted with rage, his spectral form flickering and fading as the curse weakened. "No!" he bellowed, his voice echoing into nothingness. As the last spirit disappeared, a wave of exhaustion washed over Sarah, her legs trembling beneath her. Jake and Emma rushed to her side, their faces etched with relief and awe. "We did it," Emma whispered, her voice filled with wonder. But their victory was not without consequence. The park seemed to sigh with relief, its oppressive aura lifting as if a heavy burden had been lifted. The moonlight bathed the clearing in a soft, ethereal glow, casting long shadows that danced with the promise of a new beginning. In the days that followed, news of the friends' harrowing experience at Whispering Pines Amusement Park spread throughout Brooksville. The park's dark history and the bravery of Sarah, Jake, and Emma became the talk of the town. Sarah wrote a detailed article about their encounter, shedding light on the tragic events that had plagued the park for decades. The town council decided to preserve the park as a historical site, a somber reminder of the lives lost and the resilience of those who dared to confront its ghosts. Visitors came from far and wide to pay their respects and learn about the park's haunted past. For Sarah, Jake, and Emma, the experience had been transformative. They had faced their fears and uncovered the truth, their bond strengthened by the trials they had endured together. Though haunted by memories of the park, they found solace in knowing they had made a difference. As they stood at the edge of Whispering Pines, now transformed into a place of reflection and remembrance, Sarah felt a sense of closure. The spirits had found peace, and they had played a part in setting them free. Their journey had been fraught with danger and uncertainty, but it had also been a testament to the power of courage, friendship, and the enduring spirit of humanity. And as the sun set behind the forest's dense canopy, casting dappled shadows on the worn paths of Whispering Pines, Sarah knew that their story was far from over. There were still mysteries to uncover and adventures to be had, but they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by their shared experience and their unwavering determination to uncover the truth.
That concludes our journey through the chilling tales of our trio of terror. We hope these stories have sent shivers down your spine and sparked your imagination. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more hair-raising adventures into the unknown. And remember, in the world of the paranormal, the truth may be stranger than fiction. Until next time, stay curious and stay brave.